What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Rewind, where we break down the Sunday morning sermon here at City of Light Church. I'm Derek.
I'm Maggie.
And I'm Julius.
So this week is our last week of our functional family sermon series. We're talking about siblings, y'all.
Yeah,
Sibling rivalry.
Sibling rivalry. And Pastor Brian opened up the sermon talking about some of his fondest memories, or not so fondest memories, of him and his brother. So that posed a question in my mind that I want to ask to the viewers at home and you all here, was that what are some of the not so greatest moments that you've had with your siblings? And I will start, actually. I am an only child, but I do have a person that I consider my sister, and for a portion of time, she lived in our household, and I was probably like maybe middle school age, I believe, but I would say for that duration of her living with us, this was as much of a sibling that I could possibly get, like on a full-time level. Okay. She was just kind of just wanting to be involved with what I wanted to do, asking questions, prodding in my business, and I'm just like, oh, you're so annoying, like, and obviously that's not the attitude I should have, but I would say it's not like a specific experience that I had, but like that just something I think about living with her and how I used to get so annoyed that, like, why are you living with me? Why are you
in my space?
Why are you in
house?
my space, man? For real. But what about you all?
Well, I was the oldest of three boys, and I think just the thought of it overall, I was just like always irritated because I was the oldest. And I was always like a quick designated babysitter. And so I was left home with them, and I always had to break up the fights, and I always had to make sure that they weren't, getting into nothing. And then when I wanted to do something on my own, like play a video game or something, I always had to let them play. If I was out playing basketball with my friends in the yard or playing football in the backyard, I always had to let them play, and you always messed up the vibe because I'm like, no, we want to be competitive, and we got to stop and slow down for you guys. But it taught me a lot, so I obviously I look back and be like, I remember being irritated. I remember like, dude, just let me be, like you said, like just get out of my business. Let me, because I was like 5 years older than the second one. I was 8 years older than the other one. So it was just like, I'm older. Leave me alone. Let me go find a life. But no, I keep having to drag y'all along. But no, I definitely learned a lot from being the oldest. And yeah.
Yeah. I'm also an only child, but I think I always wanted an older brother, or I know our family tried to adopt a younger brother for us. That didn't work out, unfortunately, but I feel like this happens in a lot of families, but especially in Asian families, you have cousins. Yeah. So many cousins, like cousins on people you think you're cousins with, but they're actually not like blood related to you, but they're still your cousins.
I got
So I think for me, it was a lot of like a quiet, like subtle rivalry. Like, all right, who's going to get the best grades this year? Like, who's going to get the best gifts at Christmas this year? Who's going to who's going to get married first? Who's going to have kids first and like get the trophy, right? So I think it's a lot of those kind of, more subtle like rivalries that I've experienced.
Got you.
I was gonna say, I think this it was funny that you bring it up, like to actually speak to rivalries though. It's funny because I'm the oldest, so like I've kind of grown out of. I still have competitiveness in me, but I've grown out of like. I'm a father of a lot of kids, so I don't work out a lot. I don't do a whole lot of that. I don't really care that much. But like my brothers, now that they're grown, now that they're bigger than me, now that they, you know what I'm saying, they feel like they can beat me at everything now. I'm like, y'all, leave me alone. I don't care. Yes, you can beat me. Right. Oh, yeah, they be trying to talk stuff, and I'm like, bro, just chill. I get it. Okay. And then when I get out there, I'll try. I'm like, no, man, I can't.
I got too many kids for this. I got a whole family.
They don't have any kids. They don't have none of that. They don't have to worry about none of that. So they're just like, it's always competitive. So it's like, dude, can we just have a conversation without feeling like you got to tell me you can beat me at something?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But,
yeah. But through all of our experiences with our siblings or cousins, we learn a lot through, especially growing up. And so Pastor Brian, and we'll take a look at this first clip here, it talked about what we can gain or learn from our siblings.
But I want to really dive into this thing called sibling rivalry. And before that, looking at first why are sibling relationships so important. One of the first reasons why sibling relationships are so important is they teach us social skills. Now, I'm thankful that, what my brother taught me was more than just how to give wedgies. He's a great teacher as well. He taught me more than just how to give wedgies. But also, siblings teach us conflict resolution. They are the first people that you would get an attitude with, that you would get upset with, that you would also rectify differences with. They are many times the first people in your life that you learn how to resolve conflict with. I think about.
All right, so after we just saw this clip, I was a peer mediator in elementary school. What that is a person, when there's a conflict between two students in school, they come to this conference room, and I'm there to help mediate the situation that occurred. And so it would be...
Sounds like a lot of pressure.
Kind of is, and I'm young, so I don't really know how much good advice or if I'm handling this the best at that young age. But so when they have this conflict, because Pastor Brian talked about conflict resolution, this is what I was hoping to hopefully provide at the end of the peer mediation session. And so you hear from one side about whatever their problem is, then you say, all right, let's hear from the other side, see what their problem is, and then it's my job to kind of find what where the miscommunication is to help mediate the situation. And so that is like my personal experience with conflict resolution and being the person that would kind of like solve it, And so it is definitely, and I look at it just being at a young age, you're talking about siblings and growing up and learning from them. Like, yeah, I learned this through elementary school, and I got like trained or educated on how to handle these kind of conflicts. But obviously the goal was for the two parties that were upset with each other to mend whatever was broken and improve that relationship and hopefully leave that conference room feeling better. If they get into a fight after, I don't know. But I was definitely doing my part to provide conflict resolution. But it just made me think about at such a young age, like where we do have that experience to learn.
Right.
If it's like a best friend or if it is a sibling, like where you have the opportunity to kind of learn from disagreements that you may have.
So next time I want to yell at my kids, I'm just be like, I'm video calling Julius.
He's gonna be your peer mediator.
You get on the. He's gonna conflict resolutionize your whatever you're going. No, no, but that's real. I mean, it starts off at a young age with your experiences. Whether sometimes for some people it's at home with siblings. For other people, sometimes it's whatever, like you said, the experience you were able to have at school and doing this. For me, it was just like I said, being the older brother. I had no choice but to be the mediator between them two. I was always the one left at home to watch them. My parents would be, we're going out to whatever. Stay at home with your brothers. So then they'll be jumping on each other, fighting, and I have to pull them apart and be like, bro, y'all chill out. And so definitely you kind of learn from a young age. For me specifically, I kind of learned how to kind of try my best to, like you said, mediate those situations and kind of figure out how to resolve them, how to decide how to handle the conflict. Like, bro, y'all need to chill out. What are we gonna do about this? You go over here and you watch this movie. You go down there, you play the game. But just trying to figure out the best way to work through it as an older brother. Sometimes some days were better than others. Sometimes I was in the middle of it. I was the one causing it because I'm tired of you guys. But you learn all of that stuff, at that young age and dealing with those relationships, and it kind of helps you. Basically, who you become as an adult and how you handle conflict is based off of your experience growing up with whoever you were assigned to, whether it be at school, like you said, or if you have brothers. And so now I got to catch myself not dealing with my kids as an older brother. Like, I'm your father. Okay, God help me not to be just their older brother and just want to just split them up and tell them to shut up and move to the corner. You know what I'm saying? Like, God help me, be more understanding of what's going on and see it. Like, use that same kind of, okay, I'm in charge. I understand I'm in charge and I got to handle it, but be more understanding of how I can actually help. So,
yeah. I'm really grateful. My parents didn't shelter me, even though I was an only child. They put me in the all the sports. They're like, try every sport so we know which one you like. And then try all the sports. And then I was in Girl Scouts for a while, and what else did I do? A whole lot of different clubs and extracurriculars. So, and I had a lot of babysitters too, and they were working and they had kids. So I saw a lot of sibling, relationships around me, and then also like negotiating with the kids of my babysitter. Like, all right, you always make me the pink Power Ranger, but I want to be the green Power Ranger today. If we're playing pretend or whatever we were doing. But I think there is something that I've always found interesting as an only child, is that we're really good at being alone, I think, compared to people who have a lot of family, a lot of siblings. And I think Pastor Brian talks about that in our next clip.
The place of aloneness where God does the majority of his work inside of you.
Yeah, because I know when you before the clip, you had said being a single, an only child, you were good at being alone. And I think as an adult, because I had my brothers around me a lot, and I was always with my family, I feel like when I'm alone now, I feel weird. Like I really don't know what to do with the alone time that much. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, I met God, I got close to God, I started walking with God, so I try my best to to use that time to seek him, go after him, but it's still just in general, as natural as a human, naturally based off of the way I was raised, those alone times just get weird, and it gets hard, especially if it's like, oh yeah, we're gonna leave, I'm gonna take the kids over to my sister's house or whatever. I'm like, what do I do without y'all? I don't know what to do. I don't know y'all my life. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm husband, father, brother, son. This is what I'm used to being. But now I'm alone. I'm like, okay.
Who am I now?
But I had to kind of, and then based off of the sermon, though, it kind of helped me realize, all right, those alone times is what you take the interactions that you have, bring it into your alone time, and then you see God based off of that. And you kind of now you analyze it. Okay, God, what could I have done? How could I have, how can I be a better this? How can I be a better father, husband? How can I do these things better? What did I do? Then you kind of use your interactions with people and your time around people, whoever it may be, and then you get into that alone time, and now you analyze. All right, God, how do I get rid, or how do I be less selfish? How do I, how can I be a better at not having this me attitude, like Pastor Brian was saying?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think, as only children, we're so comfortable with being alone. We're almost too comfortable in being alone. I think Julius and I were saying, we don't have FOMO. We're you guys go do what you got to do. We're cool here. You could leave us alone anywhere and we're fine. We can entertain ourselves. We're not feeling like we got to do something or be someone. But at the same time, I think it causes us to have to step back and say, I'm going to choose to spend my alone time with God instead of just being content with whatever I'm doing, and just to say, I could actually, enjoy this alone time and think on something with God than just do something selfish or, think about other things.
Yeah,
at it, right?
That's real.
Yeah, I completely agree with your remarks in regards to aloneness. I most recently, and Derek, I used to live with roommates.
Oh yeah,
and it was cool or whatever, it was fine, and then but when our lease ended and we ended up moving, it was it was almost joyful almost. I was like, wow, I'm going back to living on my own again. And honestly, it's great to me. And I think what I've learned though, back from living with roommates to back to living on my own, is that I was definitely distracted a lot. And you talking about choosing to spend time with God when you're alone, honestly, it was a little more difficult for me because I had two other people that were definitely just around often, and so it did take me away from times where I could have spent reading the Bible, watching sermons, and doing those things. But I'm involved with whatever they're doing, and so I do appreciate now being alone because it does allow me to focus on certain areas in my life that I can improve and honor and glorify God better. Mm-hmm. And then I loved how you put it, though. I have to choose to go after those things, though. So that's another part that I feel by being alone, it allows me that time and gives me that access to God that I didn't have before.
Yeah. And I'm definitely, now that we're obviously trying to walk this walk with God, and you kind of connect yourself to a community. This next clip kind of helped. He kind of points out, how what the benefit of being a part of a church family and those alone times as well. Check it out.
That same kind of progression is going to be important for us if we are going to see true transformation. I know we've been talking about sibling rivalry, and again, we can expand that because our brothers and sisters many times are who you see sitting next to you, right? Jesus said, who is my mother and who is my brother, who's my sister? It's all of you all. Is what Jesus said. And so for us then, it's important for us to know and understand that if we are going to see transformation, it's important for us to, you know what? We can't fear the aloneness because it's there where God does the greatest work in our lives.
So I guess after that clip, I guess like the question that I have is like how do you feel like you benefit from being a part of a church community based off like, learning yourself to conflict resolution and then going to your alone times based off of, maybe certain interactions, stuff like that?
I think for me, it's almost like that family dinner dynamic that I never had, like where everyone gathers around and maybe something's going on in the world. We're dealing with something, and like usually I wouldn't have anyone else to talk with about those things, right? Yeah. But having a church body allows me to like experience not only different, my peer group, but also like different generations and different, backgrounds and multi-ethnic people to come to the table and talk about these kind of things and talk about whatever is happening, in the congregation or just like in the world with culture, right? Yeah. So I think in that way it gives me a lot of accountability and gives me a lot of more of those conflict resolution skills, right?
Right.
Because we're told to tolerate one another. The body of Christ, right? The family of Christ is a big family. Got a lot of personality. So,
that's true.
Yeah.
Speaking about, obviously you mentioned multi-ethnic, and you mentioned dinner. Quick pub coming up on November 19th is our multi-ethnic family dinner. So if you haven't got your ticket, just make sure you check that out, and you can have discussions about conflict resolution. So I just want to throw that in there, quick pub, since you kind of mentioned that.
Quick advertisement.
Yeah, it's so important to be a part of a church family, and it takes, for people that may have trouble with being alone or aloneness, it's good to have that church family because those are people that you more than likely want to be around because they're inspiring, they're positive, they hold you accountable. There's so many great benefits from being a part of a church family, and it helps with transformation. Yeah. Like you have your alone time, you spend it with God, but then you talk to certain people that are obviously believers, and they are able to speak life, over you and into you and pray for you and give you all these things that you won't have if you don't necessarily put yourself out there and be active in your church family life. So I think that's one of a great benefit to know that you have. If you take advantage of the church family that you're in, it just gives you access to more things that you wouldn't get at all.
Right. And I think the two things that stick out about it for me specifically is like I might have not been like the only child to where I was alone a lot. Like, but when you grow up around your family with your brothers, and like our family, even though I had my brother, it was still a small family. So it's like really all we knew was how we act. So being able to grow up and be a part of like a church family, you get to know a lot of different people, different personalities, different ways of how people handle things, and it gives you that opportunity to kind of, like you said, grow, and it gives you a way to fill up that alone time, because now these interactions that you have, whether it be somebody from a different generation, whether it be somebody from a different ethnicity, culture, you know what I'm saying? You're able to take that home and be like, dang, like God, how. And talk to them about what you can learn, or what you might have learned, or what you might have, like, I didn't understand that, or, you know what I'm saying? It helps you pray for things. It helps you talk to God about things. And also then helps you develop more grace. If you really go to God and have that humble heart and be like, you learn how to develop more grace for people, because it's like at first all you really knew was yourself and your family.
Yeah.
But now you come to a church, be a part of a church community, and everybody's coming together. It might be for the same belief. You know, we all believe in Jesus, but at the same time, we all have different upbringings.
Right.
We're all part of we might be from different countries, or we might be from a different generation.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these things, all these ideas come together, and now you kind of understand how to use that grace and use that love that God shared with you to be like, okay, wait, let me be more understanding about this. Because now it helps you kind of understand, oh, they think about it like this because of this. Because this is what they went through. Or because this is how they understand things based off of the family they were raised up in, the area they were raised up in. You know what I'm saying? So it definitely, it makes those alone times more meaningful, because then you can reflect on yourself as you reflect on the things that you've learned from other people and the experiences you had. So then that alone time and that battle with yourself becomes more meaningful. And then just as, you know, this next clip talks about, where it talks about Jacob and that battle that he had with himself, and how he walked away from it.
You see, he left that significant place. He was transformed. His name was changed from heel grabber and trickster. His name was changed, but he also left that place with a reminder that no matter where you go in life, no matter how high you go, Jacob, there's always this reminder that you're not more powerful than God. There's always the reminder that I need to humble myself.
It's always something that comes to my mind when I think about that. It's like I'd rather limp with God than run by myself, because it's like it's something more powerful about seeing God move through weakness than watching just human strength. Like it's something like when you see some God's supernatural power through through a weakened vessel, or you know what I'm saying, like it's God uses the foolish things to confound the wise. And a lot of the times, like, I like being weak for God. You know what I'm saying? Because when I can be weak for God, it's an opportunity for God to use me to reach somebody else in their weakness. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to show my strength. You know what I'm saying? And I think that moment, like that story, that part of the story is meaningful, because it's like he left with a reminder. And because we all know, if you have that moment in your alone time with God where you're battling with yourself, and you get to a point where you realize, you know what, I need to drop this. I need to let this go. I need to move on. He said he gave him a new name. God, this is the new version of me, but at the same time, it's a new version of me, but it's a weaker version of me. Because now people will see the limp. They see that I experienced you, but at the same time, now they'll get a chance to experience you. So it's definitely a blessing to be able to have that moment, but it's not easy. So he was wrestling all night. Jacob was wrestling all night, and he got his hip popped out of place. And you know what I'm saying? But he was like, no, I need to be different. I need to change. I need you to bless me. Yeah. And he blessed him, but he left with that humble reminder of like, all right, I got this limp though, but at least I got the change I needed, so that I can be a better benefit to the people around me, my family, and reaching those that need to be reached. You know.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, you talked about humble reminderings. In my life, personally, I've had like a situation like recur like over again and again, and it's definitely a humbling experience. But through like the certain situation I've been through, I've been blessed in a sense from it, and it just ultimately has just reminded me how faithful and how good God is, and just to rest on his words that he does have a plan for us, and that plan is to prosper us. And it just makes me think about any of the trials or tribulations that I may go through. It is a reminder that I do need God, because I have fallen short of his grace, but yet he is there though to pick me up even if I do stumble. And that's something that I'm just reminded of as I, go about life, is that I'm never too big for God. I'm never greater than what he's going to do for my own life. So yes, I do want to die to myself and live for him, because living for myself has shortcomings. God carrying me through whatever is going to get me to where he wants me to be.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better than that, honestly.
Yeah. That's real.
When I think about Jacob, I love this story because it's Jacob it's Jacob wrestling with God, right? But it's also Jacob wrestling with himself.
Yeah.
It's him having to acknowledge that, oh shoot, like I was a trickster. Like
Yeah,
I did take my brother's birthright, and now it's coming back to haunt me.
Yeah.
So God, I'm holding on, and it reminds me of just one, how, like you said, Derek, God's strength, shines through our weakness. When we choose to follow Jesus, we don't always get a scar or a broken rib,
Yeah.
like to show like outwardly that we've changed, but we make a choice inwardly to say like, yes, Lord. And maybe as he limped out of that place, like maybe he saw someone and they're like, yo, like you're limping, are you all right? And then he gets to tell them the story, like, I wrestled God. I wrestled God in myself, and he gave me a blessing. And so I'm okay with this sacrifice. Like I'm okay with what I've lost in that moment, because he gave me a new name and he gave me a new purpose and a blessing. Like, and to speak, truth and testimony and power into his story, instead of saying, yeah, like I just went to go die because my brother was going to kill me.
Yeah.
And I love that part about Jacob's story.
Yeah, I mean, he finally got to a point where he what he was doing and who he was caught up with him, and what he was doing to his brother, how he was acting, and how he was, walking selfishly and walking in this with this attitude. He finally got to the point where he was like, all right, God, I'm tired, and I need something from you. I don't know what I necessarily need, but I need something from you, and I need change. And he wrestled so much to where he was like, the angel was like, all right, you got a new name now. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's like sometimes we just get to that point where we realize, you know what, God, I'm tired of me. You know what I'm saying? And it's like God, it says he like you were talking about humility, and like the scripture says he lifts up the humble and he knocks down the prideful. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So in those moments where if we're always walking in pride, or if we always walking in our own strength, God's always going to find a way to knock us down. When we continue to keep getting up with our own strength, and then we keep going through this cycle of instead of humbling ourselves and realizing, like we in that weakness, in that weak spot, that's now when God can lift us up. But we keep trying to get up of our own strength. So everybody out there, just reflect on your relationships, reflect on the things that the interactions that you've had. Take that to your alone time and really just talk to God about it. God, how can I be what you need me to be? Because I've been doing things selfishly. I've been saying things out of a selfish heart. God, how can I better be who you need me to be, and replace my wants with your wants and my desires with your desires, so that I can be better at actually being a benefit to this world instead of being the one that causes the turmoil. And so, like I always say, we got to check in the mirror. We got to look in the mirror and we got to go, God, help me. God, humble me. Because I'd rather limp with you than run by myself and just keep tripping and getting back up and keep tripping and getting back up. God, I'm gonna just stay down here even though it hurts. And I'm going to get back up with that limp. Like you said, it might not be a physical limp, but there's that thing in us sometimes where now when you have certain conversations that hits that spot. And the old you would have responded this way, but the new you, it kind of hits that spot, and you're like, okay, I'm not going to do that. I can't do that today. I'm not going to respond that way today, because that's where my weak spot is.
Yeah.
And God, that's where your strength lies. You know what I'm saying? So allow God's strength to work through you. Allow God's strength to be in your weakness, and allow God to show through that part of you that was able to humble itself and get that new name and be like, you know what, I'm not that same dude that used to beat up on my brothers and try to control my brothers because I was the biggest. You know, especially because now I got to look them in their faces and they're all the way up here. They're 2 times my height, they're 2 times my weight, and now it's humbling. Like, I can't be that same controlling big brother anymore. But it's that thing where it's like, all right, I gotta humble myself now. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, everybody, talk to God. Give him that selfishness. Give him that so you can be better at better service to this world. The Rewind crew loves you. We appreciate you watching. We hope that this conversation is a blessing to you. And until next time.